What's up, guys? Welcome to the Richard Sherman podcast. We're excited to bring a whole new vibe to this podcast. We decided to take it live. First time ever on YouTube. Richard's here to answer your questions. I'm here to moderate. So we're excited to get this started. Richard, I think when we kick this off, we're going to let some folks jump in here. First off, we want to say we appreciate all you guys for joining in every week. It's been awesome to build this podcast with you guys. We couldn't have done it without you. Richard, we're about halfway point through the season right now. There's some big surprises that taken place. Let's start right there. What are some of the biggest surprises of the year thus far in your eyes?
I guess probably Jacksonville, being 6-2. I don't think a lot of people seen that coming. CJ Stroud is having a great year. Texans are somehow 4-4. A lot of people expect them to be bottom of the barrel. The Niners about where you expected them to be, maybe one more win or so. Kansas City has struggled a bit offensively, but I mean, it's not outside of that. I mean, there's been some surprising wins. Denver beating Kansas City was a big surprise. But outside of that, I mean, everything has kind of gone according to plan for the most part. I mean, nobody could have suspected Aaron Rodgers getting hurt. I guess that's a huge surprise. But yeah.
Well, surprise on top of that is him slinging the rock 55 yards last night on live TV. So I know you came off the Achilles injury, Richard. I know we talked about this briefly before, but how does something like this happen? Because I know it was a process for you, and here this guy is walking 2 months after the surgery and heaving a ball 55 yards.
I have no idea. They got to keep asking Aaron. They got to ask Elitrosh because I've never heard of it happening like this. Nobody has. And I'm, whenever he does get out on the field to play, we'll see how he plays and if it holds up because, that'll revolutionize the Achilles healing timeline. I mean, at least for he and Kirk Cousins, quarterback is different than receiver, corner and stuff like that.
We got a user named Dirtbag Callie wants to know, Richard, what are your thoughts on this 49ers cornerback group? I know you got a little bit of a personal relationship with Diamador Lenore. What do you think about this? I
think they're solid. I think Demo does a great job getting his hands on the ball, being sticky in coverage. So does Charvarius. I think there needs to be more variety in the coverages they play. You're sitting them in man coverage all day, and they've been standing up for the most part. But you're going to have an off game or two. You're going to have some penalties. That's one of the downfalls of consistently calling mans. It's a handsy coverage. You got to get physical. You got to be in the jersey of your opponent, and it leaves the judgment up to the ref. So when you're in zone, you're kind of floating. You got to get eyes on the quarterback. You got a greater shot of getting an interception if there's pressure on the quarterback and there's an errant pass somewhere. You got a greater shot of making a play on it. But right now, I just don't see them being put in great positions consistently.
Amy Jackson asked the question, what's the bigger problem in Seattle, Geno or that O-line?
If the majority of the time he has people in his lap and there's not enough room for him to stand and deliver accurate passes, then it's the offensive line. And that was the case throughout the majority of the Baltimore game. That was the case during a lot of the plays of the Cincinnati game. He has guys in his lap. It's hard enough to play quarterback when you got a clean pocket and the concepts are right and you found the right guy. But when you got guys consistently in your face, consistently pressuring you, trying to avoid guys, then it's going to be almost impossible for anybody to play the position. You got to change the way you call the game, so some of it falls on Shane Waldron and his concepts. They got to change it. You're not getting the time to run these deep developing concepts. You got to give him outlets. You got to give him safety valves, and he's not getting those right now. So I would say it's on a lot of people. Some of it is on Geno because when he gets a clean pocket, he hasn't been accurate with the football at times. But I'd say majority of it is the offensive line and the play calling. You got to change it up.
Well, like we talked about on the podcast, Rich, I felt like I was rewatching that Detroit Lions-Baltimore game when we saw Seattle go to town into Baltimore because, I mean, you know better than anyone. When you get smacked in the mouth in that first quarter, the game plan kind of goes out the window. And I know Seattle likes to run the football. If you're not giving my boy K9 the ball on a consistent basis, it's going to be tough to win. Chase asks, Sherm, how far away do you think the Seahawks are from being that team? Hashtag LOB forever.
Well, I mean, it depends on what you mean by that team. If you're talking about a Super Bowl team, they got a little ways to go. because you got to be consistent. It's about consistency. It's about winning the games you should win, and about being competitive and being that offensive line has at times been solid. And then the last couple of weeks, they have not. They've been giving up a lot of pressure on Geno. You got to stay healthy, and health has been a factor. Defensively, I think they're improving week in and week out, but then you have a setback where you give up almost 300 yards rushing. I think the secondary is playing well. I thought they got better at the D-line spot, bringing in Leonard Williams. But I think it takes a lot. It takes a lot of consistency. It takes a lot of overcoming adversity and playing well in big games. And so I'm not sure they're a championship team yet. Until they're running the ball more consistent and they're blocking people more consistently, it's gonna be tough. They got bullied in that game.
Richard, this is a personal question about your playing days. Matt loves blueberry pie. Sherm, can you speak about how playing with the Legion of Boom personally elevated your game? And is it true that you're a combination of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most?
I think everybody made each other better. I think that was a great group of guys who complemented each other well, who played well together, who worked hard together and did a great job supporting one another on and off the field. And that allowed us to be great on the field. We held each other accountable. There's a lot of things that go into playing great football that aren't just X's and O's and talent. Is it true you are the 5 people you surround yourself with? I mean, to some degree. Because sometimes you're born in circumstances, you're surrounded by the people you're surrounded by, and you can overcome your circumstances, you can overcome your friend group. But as an adult, I guess to some degree, you're the advice that you follow, the morals that you stand on, the work that you put in. At the end of the day, you got the pen and you're writing your own story. So I don't care if you're hanging around with 5 convicts. You could still be a Fortune 500 CEO. And it's not going to affect you in that way. The decisions you make, the things that you do going forward are the things that determine your path. So if you're a follower and the 5 people that you're with are going in the wrong direction and you're following them down the road to disaster, then, I mean, I guess that could be true.
So let's stick with the Legion of Boom. When did you know the Legion of Boom was going to be historic?
I thought we had a chance after the Giants game, my rookie year, where Brandon returned it like 96 yards, 97 yards, pick 6, 90, maybe 93. And it just was the chemistry we had, the poise, the on-the-field communication, the way things translated from practice to the game. There wasn't a lot of panic in the group. And so I thought we could have a chance to do something special. We knew what we did well. We knew what we would have trouble with, and we stayed out of those positions. So, yeah, I think early on, 2011, definitely in 2012.
Who are the pretenders and who are the contenders? We're more than halfway through the NFL season, but DraftKings Sportsbook is still pumping out unbeatable offers every single game day. New customers can bet just $5 on anything to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of a sweetener offer every game day this fall. Get in on the football action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the app now and use code Richard. New customers can bet just $5 on anything to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code Richard. The crown is yours.
Has there ever been a time you've been injured in an accident and not only were you in physical pain, but there were stress, headaches, and problems that followed? Do you wish you had hired an attorney? If you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Playing corner in the NFL is hard. Submitting an injury claim with Morgan & Morgan is easy. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm with over 100 offices nationwide and more than 800 lawyers. With over $15 billion recovered for over 300,000 clients, Morgan & Morgan has a proven track record of fighting to get you full and fair compensation. Morgan & Morgan has been fighting for the people for over 35 years. Submitting an injury claim with Morgan & Morgan is so easy. If you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless you win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/Sherman or dial #law. That's #529 from your cell phone. That's forthepeople.com/Sherman. Or pound law, that's pound 529 from your cell phone. This is a paid advertisement.
This question takes us outside of your playing days into current day Richard Sherman. Media member Richard Sherman. Stingray Ghost says, you've become my mom's favorite NFL analyst on TNF and Undisputed with your astute comments, honesty, and incredible football IQ. What's been the most rewarding part of this new aspect of your career?
I think the most rewarding part is just being able to give back to the game and not having to play. It's been cool to be around the guys on TNF. You know, that crew is incredible. You know, Carissa, Tony, Whitworth, Fitz, Taylor, Mike Smith, even our producers and the staff that helps us set up every week. It's really fun to be around those guys, to continue to learn the game, to continue to be a part of it. I think that's been the most rewarding part. And Undisputed is just fun. You know, get to talk the game. You get to hang out. You get to argue a little bit, you know, like you're in the barbershop. So that's always fun. You know, it's just fun to still be around the game and get to go to games on game day.
10 years ago, if I were to tell you you'd be sitting across the desk from Skip Bayless talking shop, what would your feedback be?
Well, that's why I don't put anything past anything these days. I'm a kid that came from Watts that went to Stanford. So nothing's out of the realm of possibilities.
Nothing's out of the equation. Joseph asks, as a Niners fan, what do you think the team needs to get one step closer to being perfect?
Pressure. They need to get pressure. Well, they get a lot of pressure. They need to get sacks. They need to get sacks. They need to score points. So they need to offensively protect the quarterback, keep pressure off Brock Purdy. Offensive line, defensive line is what this league is determined by. You either have them or you don't. And if you're not playing well on the defensive line or the offensive line, you're going to have struggles. I think those are the keys. And when they get those two fixed, then, you know, the rest will fall into place.
Dexter Plays asks, what were your thoughts on the Chargers defense last night? I mean, is this Chargers team looking better, or are they just playing the Jets and Zach Wilson? A little combo of both.
A little combo of both, probably, but I mean, you got to give them credit. That was the defense that they played up to their billing of what they should have been playing the whole time. I mean, a lot of these guys have been there. I think Brandon Staley, this is the way people expected his defense to come when he was brought in as the head coach, and it's kind of crazy that it just started to happen. But 8 sacks, they were flying around the football field, they were hitting. They looked confident, they looked ready to play, they looked prepared. And they made plays that were there. So, Joey Bosa looked like Joey Bosa. Khalil Mack looked like Khalil Mack. Derwin James were making plays all over the field. Yeah, that's what you would have expected when Brandon Staley came in and all the talent they had. So, I mean, they looked really good.
Well, they're going to get a wake-up call next week, Richard. They play my Detroit Lions, so expect them to take an L. If we got any Chargers fans in the chat right now, expect an L next week. Richard, Matt asks, was there anyone you grew up with or played with that could have been amazing in the NFL but just never made it?
Yeah, there's been a lot of guys that I thought wouldn't make it. Marvin Johnson was probably the best guy on our high school team. I would have thought he ended up going to Oregon, and they just kind of played him out of position and, didn't get a great shot at showing his abilities. But I thought he would have a great shot at it. I thought there was a couple Simmonses that went to our school that I thought would be NFL linebackers who, they had older brothers that were NFL linebackers. They were kind of a family of NFL linebackers, and things just didn't pan out that way that I thought. But, I mean, everything happens for a reason. Everything happens as it's supposed to, and this is what it is.
We haven't seen it yet, Richard. Every week right around this time, we get to see your power ranks. I want to do it live right now. Richard, who's going to be in your top 5, the Richard Sherman power ranks for, what are we in, week 9, week 10 now?
That's a great question. You got to go with Philadelphia. They got the best record in the National Football League. Second, you got to go Baltimore because they're just playing really great football. Defense is playing really well, 35 sacks on the season. Then you got to go Old Faithful with Kansas City. They are who they've been playing really, really well. You could try to put other teams in there, but it's going to be hard because Cincinnati is playing really good. So I'd probably have to put them 4th, and then I'm just going to go have to put the Niners there. They had an off week. They were in a bye, but everybody else lost. The Dolphins lost. Dallas lost. So Seattle lost. So there aren't a lot of actually, you know what? I'm gonna put Jacksonville in there. I'm gonna give Jacksonville 6-2.
Okay.
I'm gonna put them in the 5th spot. They are 6-2, and their record says they should be there. So it's what, 4 AFC teams and 1 NFC team. It's about right now.
I mean, I think the most shocking thing to me of recent is the Bills fall off, man. They've just come down to earth, and if the season ended today, they wouldn't even be in the playoffs, which is pretty crazy to think about. Oh, here we go. Actually, a question about the Bills from Marion. The Bills' problem entirely on their offensive coordinator. Should they just let Josh Allen be Josh Allen?
I think I don't know. I don't know because I don't know a lot of times what the play calls for and what he's actually executing because he creates on so many of these plays. So there's so much of Josh Allen being Josh Allen where he's getting out of the pocket. He's creating more time, more space. He's maneuvering. He's not just hitting his back foot and letting the ball go, that we can't tell if it's the coordinator or Josh Allen because he's not technically running the plays. And at times he'll sit there and throw it, and it looks like the offense runs fine. He'll hit Stephon Diggs on a few plays. He'll hit the tight end on a few plays. He'll move the ball around. He'll hit Cook. They'll run the ball a little bit. So I think there needs to be more balance. I think everybody always says that it needs to be more balance, but I think this is Josh Allen being Josh Allen. I think it's just not being good enough right now. And I think Brian Daboll and his impact is starting to, people are starting to see that he had a much bigger impact than people gave him credit.
Well, Brian Daboll probably wishes he was back in Buffalo after seeing who's quarterback in his New York Giants right now. But that's a story for another time. Richard, I think I know the answer to this question, and it might surprise some of our audience. Low key, who was the most difficult and challenging wide receiver you ever covered?
It was Stevie Johnson. It was young Stevie Johnson when he was in Buffalo. I got another chance to go against him when he was in San Francisco, but he was past his prime, and I had 2 interceptions on the game. It wasn't much, but when he was in Buffalo, he was an issue. And just unorthodox movement was what his biggest thing. It wasn't the fastest, wasn't the biggest or anything like that, but he was unorthodox.
Richard, let's switch to the basketball court. I know you're a huge Laker fan. LeBron, year 21 now, right? What are your expectations for this Lakers team? Does Bron have one more in him?
Well, the expectations in Lakerland is always championship, Mitchell. After you get 17 of them, you always just want 18. And so that's the expectation going into this year. LeBron, Anthony Davis, you expect championship regardless. Even last year when we were the, 10th seed or 9th seed, and people still expect championship, and they made it all the way to the conference championship and then got swept by the Denver Nuggets. But the expectation is always that regardless.
Well, John asked, at Sherm, is CJ Stroud legit? I think I can answer that for you. Yeah, he's legit. But, Richard, I'll let you chime in on that.
Yeah, he's legit. He's making the game look easy. His passes, his setup, his reads makes it all look easy. He executes at a really high level. He has coaches that believe in him, an offensive coordinator and Bobby Slowick that's putting him in great spots and really accentuating his strengths and minimizing his weaknesses. And it's a match made in heaven. He's elevating his teammates, Nico Collins, Noah Brown, Tank Dell. He's making these guys into really good NFL receivers. They're making him look good. They're catching his passes, and it's really cool to see.
Here's a softball one for you, Richard. Give me your offensive player of the year and the defensive player of the year. The season word end today.
Offensive player of the year right now, I probably have to be Tyreek. Tyreek is having a great year. Offensively, he's been productive, record-breaking. And then defense player of the year, there's a couple guys that are in it right now. I would say it's between Max Crosby and TJ Watt. Myles Garrett also has a case. So between those three, I'd have to go TJ Watt. We just watched him recently live, so it's hard to pass him up.
The last question we'll go with is from Joseph. He says, do Kyrie and Luka have a chance this year, or do they need more time to develop?
I don't know. There's rarely a time where you've seen just 2 ball-dominant guards win a championship. We've seen 2 guards win a championship, but it was Steph and Clay, and they had Draymond, so there's always that third guy, and I'm just not sure they have the third guy they need to really win a championship, especially in that West where Steph and Clay and Draymond are, where Murray and Joker are, where KD, Booker, and now Bradley Beal is. It's going to be really tough. And then you just talked about the Clippers getting James Harden, Westbrook, Kawhi, Paul George. So no, I don't. I think I don't know if it's about their development as much as it's about the competition out west.
Well, Richard, that concludes it. I appreciate you guys all for joining us live here. We gave this a shot. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Richard, I'll let you sign us off here.
Well, appreciate you guys again for joining us live. This has been the Richard Sherman Podcast. We're going to do this from time to time. If you guys got more questions and want to be more involved, please feel free to tweet anytime. Thank you so much. Hit that sub button if you're new and join us every week. Appreciate you.